Hey, what's up, everybody? It's BDL44 coming at you with another video. So, before I get into what we're talking about here, Lou Williams is headed back to the Hawks on a one-year deal. So, I'm trying to keep y'all up on everything. But I'm here to talk about Kwahi's free agency. I was watching The Jump, and Robert Horry was essentially saying that, he thinks that Kawhi Leonard probably should just hurry back. Well, not hurry back, but should have given the Clippers some type of indication of what he was doing, so that if other free agents wanted to sign with the team, they would be able to do so with a full spectrum of other places they could, other options. As to where now, if they wanted to wait on Kwahi, they would have had to let all those other options dry up and so on and so forth. My thing in regards to that is, well, that would be true in almost every case, but this one is not that way because he's not going to be playing it all this season. So if a guy's going to come to the Clippers thinking they want to play with Kwahi, they're going to have to wait a year anyway, and that's understood. So if you're going to the Clippers, you're going there with the full and utter understanding of what the roster looks like when free agency started. So that's not the case in this situation, in my opinion. But in most cases, it would be. When a guy drags their feet, we've seen that movie before, it does leave us, I say us because I've been through it as a fan, it leaves us feeling like, we could have gotten other players if you wouldn't have did that. But this ain't that situation at all with the Clippers, particularly because he's out for the season. Which brings me to my next thing. I know why Kwahi would sign a contract for this season, but why would the Clippers be inclined to sign him at all this season? I'm not going to be playing. See, that's my thing. It's like, you're a free agent and you're out for the season. I'm definitely not signing you to a one-year deal. What the hell does that look like? But why am I signing you to a 2-year deal when the first year you're not going to be of service? I think that the issue could be behind the scenes that the Clippers don't want to sign Kwahi at all this season. And it stands to reason why they shouldn't. Even if you want to sign him to a 5-year deal. The first deal is free? Like, what are we talking about? The first year is free? No, we're not doing that. So this is a tricky free agency because of that conundrum alone. That could be why it's taking so long, because it literally makes absolutely no sense for the Clippers to sign him to any deal whatsoever for this particular season. So to work out something like super magnitude, sorry about that, it's tricky because you don't want to let him walk, because what he'll do is sign a big deal with someone else who will be willing to give you that year. See, the market will dictate that because of who he is, you may be inclined to be forced to pay for this season just off the strength of who he is. Because what you don't want to do is let him go to, say, a Toronto or a Dallas or something like that, and they create the opportunity to make that happen as to where you wouldn't. So, yes, you do have to pay for this year based on that. But even so, if I'm the Clippers, I'm still mulling over it because I'm like, well, how bad do I want this guy based on the facts surrounding his injury histories and all that, and his production and all of that? How bad do I want him if I'm forced to pay we will likely be over $35 million a year for a guy who won't be playing this year? Now, is there a possibility he could come back before the playoffs? Of course. And that's another thing you don't want to play around with if you're the Clippers. Let's say you think he's going to be out for the season and he comes back in January. You didn't sign him. He's with the Dallas Mavericks or wherever he ends up. And now your future is looking murky because you have no picks. You have no Kwahi. And you ultimately let him walk out of the door for whatever it is that you walk out with. Likely would be a sign and trade, but you're down a Kwahi, a whole Kwahi. Like, that's something you don't want if you're the Clippers as well. So his free agency is just as tricky as, not as tricky as Schroeder's, but it is very tricky, and it stands to reason why no decision has been made at this time. It's a weird conundrum. If he were a player that was average, then he just wouldn't be coming back. You see what I'm saying? If this was like Nick Batum, he wouldn't sign him this season. But because he's Kwahi, you feel inclined to do so. So, yeah, I'm sure Kwahi has a decision to make on how many years he wants to stay with the Clippers. But the Clippers also have to make a decision on how they want to frame this deal so that they're not paying this man for free or letting him walk out the door for nothing. So I'd imagine that's probably not the easiest thing to do. This is a very, very, very unique circumstance, and we'll just wait and see how it plays out. I don't think Kawhi Leonard's going to be suiting up for anybody else other than the Clippers for the next several years. I don't. I expect him to sign a 4-year deal, probably worth $200 million or something like that, or whatever the max would be, 170 something, whatever the max is. I expect him to ultimately sign that. A lot of people are getting 5-year deals. I just don't think Kawhi would want to sign on for 5 for some reason. Just a hunch. But he will probably want to lock up. That's what I think will ultimately happen. So, yeah. That's what I got. This is a prediction. Doesn't have to be nothing. I thank y'all for watching. My name is BDL44, and I'm out.